Getting a little creative here on our preseason coaches show. Adam Gore, Ryan Whittington, Jeremy Kennedy back at you this season for the 2006 football season. And guys, a lot of excitement in the air. Kicked off actually last night, but tonight, Friday night, everybody goes full steam.
Absolutely, and it is the best time of the year. We talked about it. You get a chance. It seems though we wait so long for football to come around, and finally it gets here. It's a fast-paced track, and we're anxious to start. Got a lot of great games this past weekend, and great time of the year.
That's right, and to tell you the truth, Jeremy, even though I'm a huge baseball fan, I was kind of relieved when baseball was a little bit over. Knew that we would be getting back into football, and we're really ready for some hot action, like you said. I mean, we got Oklahoma-Houston coming up tonight, and last night was a pretty good game as well.
Absolutely, of course. You'll see that game following this, the Kansas City Vardaman game. So we'll go over some of the other games going on. Also, a game last night, Pontotoc versus South Pontotoc. So you guys just mentioned you guys will have the opportunity to see Houston travel to Oklahoma. And then we've got the Bruce versus Water Valley. Nelton will be at Baldwin. Amory will host South Tillow. And then later on in the weekend, you'll see Lafayette County versus Holly Springs, Oxford versus Corinth, and Boonville versus North Panola. So, guys, a lot of football action there jumping off, to kick us into the 2006 football season. But let's quickly talk about some of those games that might jump out your attention. I know one of them that you guys are excited about, Houston, Oklahoma, getting to see Robert Elliott.
Well, certainly, and considered one of the best running backs in the state of Mississippi, and it's a treat for us to get a chance to see him. And Oklahoma and Houston, a team with a lot of talent. They struggled a little bit last year. Oklahoma, they've done some good things, but certainly the big effort for Oklahoma is going to be to get Robert Elliott to football and just let him run wild.
That's right. Robert Elliott, though, he's going to have to take in consideration the big offensive line for Houston. They've got some great players up there.
Absolutely, and that's one thing people don't realize about this Houston team. They actually got a guy by the name of Ty Harden. It's pretty hard hitting linebackers, some solid defensive line guys. So, I guess you could say it's the Bruce Kansas City type matchup between these Chickasaw County teams kicking it off. And you look at it, you've got Bruce versus Water Valley, which is a good rivalry over the years. Kansas City Vardaman has become one over the past 4 or 5 years. Pontotoc, South Pontotoc, that speaks for itself. Now you've got Houston versus Oklahoma. That's 4 county rivalry or close rivalries right there to start off the football season. That's pretty exciting, guys.
Well, absolutely, it's a great way to kick off your football season. You talk about a lot of great. You see more of that action kind of in college, but it's great when you get it in high school. Friday night, the anticipation's there, and you get a chance to get to beat your rivals, so to speak, on your first weekend. And it speaks for itself. And you talked about some of the rivalries we had, and you get a chance. You see, Bruce and Water Valley, and Houston and Oklahoma, Pontotoc, and South Pontotoc. And so, they get a chance to play each other. It's exciting for the players and exciting for the coaches. You get a chance, you work hard all summer long, and then finally you get a chance to play your rival opening weekend. It speaks for itself as far as great football.
You got to be careful, though, Jeremy. You got pretty big game at the front part. You can't go all out that first game. You got a couple games coming up later on in the week. But I agree with Jeremy. I think that's a great idea from the coaching staffs. Like Jeremy said, college football is getting like that a lot more. But I'll tell you what, the Bruce Water Valley game also jumps out at me as going to be a pretty good matchup.
Absolutely, that one has become just an amazing matchup over the past few years. I want to say the biggest margin of victory over the last 4 or 5 years, 7 points, maybe 3 points, probably on an average around 5 points a game. So that's a good one there. Also, it's not close tied rivalry, but Lafayette County and Oxford's got 2 exciting games. Oxford versus Corinth. Lafayette County hosts Holly Springs. Holly Springs, a program up and coming, could really come into Lafayette County and I guess you say spoil their home opener on their new field.
Absolutely. Holly Springs, one of those teams last year that made the playoffs with a losing record, but they made the playoffs nonetheless. We saw them last year, and a very disappointing start for Holly Springs last year. They were beaten 41-0 on their home field by the Commodores, and that's a team, along with Oxford, we're going to see just how much those 2 impact players, Justin Woodall from Lafayette County and Matt Malou from Oxford, really impacted their teams last year. Can those 2 programs keep it going? Oxford had a great season last year, came 1 game short from making the state championship, and Lafayette 6-0 at one point, kind of struggled down the stretch, but we'll find out quickly just how good these teams are going to be as they're matched up with 2 teams that can beat them in opening matchups.
That's right. Both of those teams, Lafayette and Oxford, having to switch quarterbacks now. Lafayette County's got Desmond Ivey and also Hunter Mize would be splitting the duties at quarterback, we believe. And also at quarterback for Oxford would be Davis Horton. He's got a couple up-and-coming people behind him. You got Riley Saunders and also Matt Shaw behind him. So it's going to be a tough week. Maybe for these new quarterbacks getting into the rhythm of the new position that they're in. And I'll tell you what, Corinth is going to be a pretty big game right there. I believe Oxford opened up with them a couple years ago. And also Holly Springs is, who knows, I mean, they can surprise a lot of people.
Absolutely. Now, going back on that Davis Horton comment, this kid really, to me, is at an opportunity to really boost his career this season because he's always been the shadow of Maloof and people like that. This kid's a big quarterback, good strong arm, good, maybe not as swift of foot at times, but I think Horton could really come out and shine this year for the Chargers.
Well, certainly he did a nice job in some backup roles last year, but you mentioned it. He's a big, strong guy. If you put a helmet on him and Matt Maloof last year, take off the jerseys, you really can't tell the difference. They're the same size, the same height, and Davis is probably more arm strength, less mobility. So the Chargers won't be bailed out by some of his scrambling abilities, but he's got a go-to target, Horatio Williams. He's got DeAndre Corwin coming back. He's got a solid offensive line. So he's got the makings of having himself a pretty good year. He's just got to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and it'll be interesting to see. He'll get a big test early Friday night against Corinth.
He's getting a lot of help also from the wideout position in Brent Brownlee. Brownlee had, I believe, 6 or 7 touchdowns last year, but it might be a little tough for Davis in the first couple of games because he didn't get a lot of experience last year with Maloof at the helm, but he was put in the games later on, when they were in blowouts, and also he put on a pretty good showing at the Jamboree that Oxford opened up with at Vaught Hemingway.
Absolutely. I know the game you weren't at, the New Albany game, where you got a lot of action in there, sort of rotated the quarterback situation there. He looked pretty good against New Albany, and New Albany was a pretty stout team last year.
Oh, absolutely. He did a very good job. As you mentioned, he just manages the game. They're not going to ask him to do a lot of the things that they asked Matt Maloof to do last year. They're going to depend more so on the running game with DeAndre Corwin. I look for him to get some more carries. But as you mentioned, I can't believe I left off Brent Brownlee as his go-to target. Horatio Williams and Brent Brownlee. And also you got Reed Faulkner at tight end. They can get those guys involved in the action. Oxford may not miss a beat. You talk about a little bit of inexperience last year, but if he can just come in, manage the ball game, keep the turnovers down to a minimum, this team, they can go deep into the playoffs again.
I agree. I mean, how could you go wrong with somebody like a Brent Brownlee? You have all these people helping you out, especially Corwin, who really showed out in the past couple of years. He kind of burst onto the scene. We weren't really sure of his name, I believe, at the beginning of last year. But he put up some great carries, put up some great runs, especially a huge hit, I believe, on one of the whammies of the year. But Oxford has a lot of things set in stone for them, but they have a lot to prove this year as well. After going 13-0 up until West Point last year, one win away from getting the state championship, but that was kind of a letdown for them. But this year, I don't think the bar is set as high as it was. You had Matt Maloof. This year, Davis Horton, I think, is going to fly under the radar, and Oxford could turn heads.
Absolutely. Guys, we'll switch a note here. We'll stay on that same conference. You talk about how Oxford can go. One big problem this year for Oxford and Lafayette County team over in the Delta named Clarksdale. These guys returned just about everybody and then some, and then they brought a few more people this year as well. Big matchup for them Friday night, South Panola versus Clarksdale. But Clarksdale, they've got the makings to make a pretty strong push down to Jackson this year.
The loss, I don't have a feeling they're going to beat South. That may be their only loss of the whole season. If Clarksdale does not win their conference, it may be the biggest disappointment they've had in a while. This team only had 8 seniors last year. They returned everybody, as you mentioned. They beat Lafayette, ended their perfect season last year. Came within a 10 points of beating Oxford. This is a young team, well-coached team, and they're going to have an easy run, in my opinion, in their own district. It doesn't matter how good Davis Horton and some of the kids from Lafayette look. Clarksdale is going to win their district. They're that good, and they've got a real shot of representing the North in the 4A state championship game.
They're my winner for 4A. I got to tell you, just looking at 4A this year, I think that 4A is very strong this year. And the North is not as strong as it has been before. But I think Clarksdale I really think they do win the North 4A. And when you look at South, you got West Point down there. It's going to be tough for West Point to knock off somebody like a Clarksdale with everybody returning.
Absolutely. So that'll be an interesting note to keep out on. Stay in that same conference, surprise team that could come in and really, really shake things up. DeSoto Central. Really young team last year. was on the bubble, had a few, misplays here, misplays there, fumbles that really sort of cost them a football game. DeSoto Central really can't count them out because they're a program that's rising.
Oh, absolutely. You talk about that's a school that's benefiting from all of the new population in that county. They go from a 1A to a 4A, and there's been talk about them bumping up to a 5A. And with great facilities, they've got a lot of great athletes. They're well coached, and as you mentioned, they were on the bubble last year, played in a tough district with Clarksdale, Oxford, and Lafayette, kind of backed their way into that fourth seed. But they've got a lot of guys coming back. They were really young last year, and that's a team they can capitalize on some of the misfortunes from Oxford and Lafayette. This is a team that can legitimately compete for the number 2 seed in that district behind Clarksdale.
And I also believe when you look at the type of district that DeSoto Central plays in, you've got a Hernando that really, unless they improve a lot this year, that's going to be an easy win for somebody like a DeSoto Central. They also had a great atmosphere when we went up there. That atmosphere is something that this young team can feed off of. And I say young, but it seems like we've been saying that for the past 4 years. I believe their first graduating class was last year. So this year, they're going to have – they've already set the program in stone, and so they're going to have a lot of experienced guys.
Absolutely. Now we'll flip the coin, stay in 4A, switch over Shannon, West Point, Tishomingo County, teams like that. This Shannon team, we had an opportunity to see Shannon at Ole Miss. This Michael Ledbetter kid, I guess you can call it quarterback high. Auburn's got running back quarterback high over at Shannon. This kid right here, he can have a type of season or a type of career at Shannon that really makes people forget about the other guys that came in front of him.
Absolutely. He's got a chance. He's got a breakout wide receiver over there in Shannon, too. And this is a team that you talked about last year. This could be another one of those teams that could win the 4A North part. They play in a district. They've got West Point, which is one of the teams that knocked them out last year. And so they really didn't get a chance to get very far. But they got a lot of guys coming back. They've got a great quarterback. They've got a great receiver, Darius Young. And they've got a really good chance to put up a lot of points. They've put up a lot of points in the last 10 or so years. They've had Romero Miller and Ken Tops at quarterback. Now you got Ledbetter there. As you mentioned, just kind of keep building and building, and they've got a really great chance to be a breakout team and win that district in 4A.
I don't know. Ledbetter has got some big shoes to fill in Romero Miller, but Romero who?
It could be that
I don't
way.
think I'd go quite that far.
I don't think very many people forget that name. But at the same time, one thing that really impressed me was how big that offensive and defensive line was they had and how well they moved. Because at one point, at the very first play of the game when they started to pass the ball, Ledbetter just ran around in circles, and actually a receiver came from one side of the field, worked his way back across, and came back to the quarterback like you're taught, and completed a 13-yard pass. But he had at least a good, 15, 20 seconds to throw the football. So if that offensive line can stay in shape, stay healthy, Shannon could be a team in 4A that could really make a lot of noise.
And they were hanging tough with a 5A power in Olive Branch. I mean, I know it's just a jamboree, but to tell you the truth, they were looking very good, just even without Darius Young, who wasn't playing in that ball game. Michael Ledbetter was really carrying that team, and offensive line showed out.
Absolutely. So, another thing, last year they went to the single running back set underneath center for the snap, going back to old school, 5 wide, shotgun, let it roll. So Shannon should have an exciting brand of football this year. On that same coin, you look at West Point. They really lost a lot of players. I didn't realize the other day until how many they lost, but they're just reloading.
Yeah, this is one of your programs. And nobody's going to reach the South Panola plateau of reloading, but this is the team in the state that's probably the closest in the north half to doing that. They've won state 4 times, I believe. In their history, a great football program. We saw last year. Big and physical. They like to line up and just run the football. You mentioned they lost a lot of guys, and they're going to play in a tough district. They got Shannon also in that district. So I think for them, 8, 9 wins in the regular season, make the playoffs, and just rely on some of those guys to fill in. I think they're probably going to finish second behind Shannon in the district. But they get to the playoffs, you just kind of reload a little bit. We could be talking about them this time next year to represent the 4A North.
Now, we all knew going into that game with Oxford and West Point that West Point was going to be a force to be reckoned with. But the week before, Oxford played West Lauderdale, I believe. Wasn't that right? Now, West Lauderdale was a little, I think, overrated, if you will say, because Oxford, had their way with them. But I'll tell you what, West Point was just dominant in that whole game. And I don't know, it's going to be really tough for Shannon to overcome them, but they've got a great chance in it, Ledbetter and Young.
Absolutely. So it's pretty much looking like a two-dog race for that number one spot. But you can't throw out Tishomingo County. They got Kissinger in at quarterback. This kid's a great athlete. Of course, I know we don't know that much about Tishomingo County to an extent as other ones, but it's pretty much coming down to just 4 teams playing for positioning. You've got West Point, Shannon, Itawamba, Tish are going to be the top 4 in that one. Well, that's pretty much, guys, we spent that good bit talking about 4A football. So we're going to take a quick break, give you guys a chance at home, sort of catch your breath, and we'll come back, look at some 3A, 2A, and just some other things for the preseason.
Take a ride with your Arctic Cat dealer, Mississippi Marine in Tupelo. Arctic Cat, giving you more to go on for over a decade, offering more suspension travel, more ground clearance, and more durability than any other ATV out there. With top-of-the-line models such as the TRV Plus, 700, 650, and 400 limited editions, you can't go wrong. Mississippi Marine also brings you Arctic Cat's Prowler. This go-anywhere utility vehicle will help you out on the job or around the farm. So visit Bill Morgan and all the staff at Mississippi Marine today, Highway 45 in Tupelo.
Eddie Burns Memorial Go-Kart Racing. Practice begins at 2 p.m., qualifying at 4:30 p.m. The actual race starts at 7 p.m. Go-kart racing at its best. Saturday night, August the 26th, 7 p.m., Eddie Burns Memorial Go-Kart Racing.
Hi, I'm Park Ranger Chris Terry with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at Grenada Lake, reminding you that children 12 years old and younger must wear a life jacket on boats 26 feet in length or less while the boat is underway.
This safety message brought to you by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at Grenada Lake, reminding you to be cautious and stay safe this summer.
Jeremy Kennedy and Ryan Woody. I think we're back. Steven just gave me my cue there. As guys, we just talked about a lot of 4A football. We'll shift gears, take it down to 3A. We'll start with, I guess you'd say, the TV7 division over there with Amory, Nettleton. I forgot the teams now. Aberdeen, Houston, and South Pontotoc, and throw in Caledonia, even though they're not in the mix. But this is going to be an interesting division. Of course, Nettleton returning just about everybody. Amory having losing some key kids, but still have some more coming back as well to fill in some spots. But guys, right now that division seems to be wide open from the top 1, 2, 3 between what I'm calling Amory, Nettleton, Caledonia to that number 4 spot being pretty wide open for the last spot in the division for the playoffs as well.
Well, this may be the toughest and most balanced division we've talked about so far in 3A, but Nettleton probably going to be, if you want to go ahead and give somebody that nudge for favorite, probably going to be Nettleton. They return a lot of guys. You mentioned Amory still got some guys coming back. They were a little young last year, so if they can get some things worked out, they're definitely going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. If they get some things worked out, it could be your 3A division champion.
Like you said, it's still up for grabs. Houston is going to have a little bit of a rut to get out of. They need to make that division jump, but they've got a lot of talent, like you said.
Absolutely, and of course Caledonia, they're going to be that dark horse. They can come in, they could throw this thing out of whack. I mean, they can come in, slip up, lose to Nettleton, beat Amory. Then Houston could come in and beat Caledonia. It's just one of those divisions where it looks like it's going to be very, very volatile or very interesting when it comes down to the last 2 weeks of the season. But right now, it's tough. It's tough. It'll be a great ball game. Of course, we'll cover that ball game later in the year between Nettleton and Amory. That very well could tell you who's going to win that division. And as you said, it's tough. You say, all right, I see this many people coming back from Nettleton, not so many Amory. Okay, I'll give it to Nettleton. And then you look and see who is coming back from Amory. Then, it's just back and forth. So it really can be whoever gets hot, whoever's playing with confidence at the latter part of the season that wins this division.
Oh, certainly, and you got, like I said, you got some guys from Amory coming back, some important guys. You got McFadden that's coming back. He played some quarterback last year, looked good in some games we saw them. So if they can get it together and they can do some things in their own division, take care of some of the weaker teams in their division, that game, as you mentioned, with Nettleton could be for the division championship.
Now we'll shift up, go up, I guess say 45, up to Prentice County, and you got Boonville, North Pontotoc in the viewing area. And guys, it's not going to. I say this, it's hard to doubt Coach Drury. As soon as you count him out, as soon as you're saying 9, finna say 10, and ring the bell, the guy pops up with just an amazing year. So you really can't count out the old ball coach. But the way things are sounding, the way things look with all the youth and all the young players, Boonville's going to be down this year. I still see them making the playoffs. There's no questioning that, but it's going to be one of those interesting years where the Boonville faithful may just have to ride the tide and just sort of get behind their kids as much as possible.
Well, certainly you lose a guy that was very important last year. Your running back that carried this team. I mean, let's be honest here. You take Justin Williams out of the lineup, and where's your offense? And that's kind of the question we're asking right now. No superstar running back. You lose about 90% of your offense. Where's your production coming from?
Well, not only offense, you got to look at defense as well. I mean, both sides of the ball have got to be somewhere in between. You have to find that level playing field. It's going to be tough for them this year.
Absolutely. But one thing, it is a bright mark. Could leave for brighter things on down the road. Take your lumps now, return them later. So, but North Pontotoc, I don't know, guys. That's just a program that really, to me, should be miles above where it is right now. It's just there's not a deep interest amongst the students at North Pontotoc about football, which is a shame because, the South is, it's football. It's church, then football. So, it's just one of those things where, it's just really sad that, North Pontotoc, they've had the talent in the past. Some of them just don't come out and play football. Some of them do, then they just don't put their heart into football. North Pontotoc's one of these schools that if everything clicks for them, everybody wants to play the game of football, they could end up making some noise on down the road. But until then, it's just going to be another one of those seasons where the Viking fans have just got to grin and bear it.
Yeah, and you mentioned it's kind of disappointing because you take a look at you got Pontotoc and South Pontotoc, and they're so football crazy. But North Pontotoc, and that's a school that there's been talk about them bumping up classifications because of all the population. And if they're having trouble competing in 3A, 5A may be a bigger animal than they can take, but if they could just get some guys to come out there and they can get somebody behind the program, whether it be some coaching staff, just new players, new faces whatsoever, they can kind of jumpstart this program. They can compete with anybody with the population facilities that they have.
On a personal note, I think that I can pardon them from not having a great football tradition because of the great baseball tradition that they are producing right now. I love the type of baseball they play.
Absolutely. So that is true. They do have a good baseball program. We're not taking everything away from them, but
That's right.
Football, the basketball's good too. But it'd be nice to see them get fired back up like the Makiro Shelley days and things like that. Whenever they were pushing for the playoffs and having a good season there. So 3A football guys, I think it all boils down to one team. That's going to be those ugly helmets that Charleston wears. It looks like the old school Bengals, but right now you got to favor Charleston in the north.
Oh, absolutely. They've got what some have called the best running back in the state of Mississippi, and Johnny Brown, and he's a guy that had a big season last year, 24 touchdowns, run for over 2,000 yards, and there's no doubt about who's going to get the ball again this year. The question is, can their defense hold all of that? Can they make sure that when Charleston gets the football, they're not down 7-0. The great thing about that is a great running game usually offsets some of that, but you mentioned Charleston 3A. That's going to be the team to watch out for. That's going to be your 3A North winner.
Absolutely. It's just going to be one of those things where the only question mark is the passing game. Will they be able to, if they have to, they may not have to, will they be able to open up the run with the pass? Which, whenever you got a guy like Brown in the backfield, you're going to have to come up respected. So that's going to make passing a lot easier. So I want to go with you on this one. I want to say Charleston's an early favorite with Amory, Nettleton, and teams like that in Caledonia sort of nipping at the heels. Like I said, 3A, let's be another one, which is always that case in 3A. It's this team that's hot at a certain time of the year, can get out there and make something happen. You can't count out Senatobia as well.
Well, certainly not. And again, you never know. High school football is kind of that same way. You never know, what can happen. But if you take a look and if you have people pick right now, most people are going to go with the Charleston as their 3A champion behind Johnny Brown running the football. And we may see a situation in Charleston where they don't see a whole lot of passes, and that may be a great thing, because if Johnny Brown gets the football more times, he's just a touchdown waiting to happen.
Now, I know somebody that always turns heads, though, is Senatobia. I remember I picked them a lot last year. I don't know how great they're going to be this year, but, I mean, they always are in the playoff mix. Charleston, it's going to be a great team this year, but like you said, Amory's always right behind them.
Absolutely. I think the thing that impressed me the most when we saw Senatobia play Kansas City was just they're fundamentally sound. They get out, they pull the guards, they get out and they block. They know who they're supposed to block, when they're supposed to block, where they're supposed to go, who they can let go, who they don't need to let go, and things like that. So Senatobia is that team that, when they're clicking on offense, clicking on defense, they're just a dangerous team, no matter, who's in the backfield and things like that. So we all pretty much agree on that. Charleston sets the bar this year in 3A. So another shift gears now to 2A. 2A is going to be interesting. You got Calhoun City, Bruce, Eupora, Ackerman, and J.Z. George in this division. A lot of people think I'm crazy when I mention J.Z. George, but they're going to come in there. They're going to make some serious noise this year. But right now in that division, there's no questioning who's the team to beat. Big bullseye on their back, Calhoun City.
Absolutely. They've got everybody, it seems everybody coming back. Malcolm Bellum's coming back. You've got Mark Fox coming back. I mean, you've got a lot of guys who are receiving a lot of attention from Division I teams, and that team came up just a game short last year from making it to Jackson. This is a team that has no excuses. They're more talented than everybody in their district. They're more talented than every team in 2A North. They've got to get it done. They've got to get to Jackson.
The athleticism of Malcolm Bellum and Mark Fox will take them into Jackson. And, they're a great team. They've got a lot of talent to build upon. They got to get over that hump, though.
Well, there's one team in the viewing area that might have something to say about that. That's going to be the Baldwin Bearcats. 2A team. When we say returning everybody, yeah, these guys are returning everybody. The only thing that worries me about Baldwin, and this may sound bad, of course, we're just casual conversation here. You just happen to watch it on TV. They won a lot of games, in my personal opinion, on luck. They just got the lucky breaks at the end, like the Nelton game last year, fumble recovery, returned it for a touchdown with no time left. South Pontotoc game, South Pontotic's number one receiver drops 2 touchdown passes in the end zone. Just games like that they count as a W on the scoreboard, but at the same time, though, you have to question, were we good enough to win that game without Lady Luck? And will we be good enough to win this year without Lady Luck on our side?
Well, you always worry about the downfall after you have a breakout season, especially with a young group. You get a young group in there that, that they think, well, all we have to do is just get in the game. If we get in the game, something good will happen. And this is a team that can go a long way. You talk about well coached. This may have been the best coach team in our viewing area last year. A lot of guys coming back, everybody coming back, a lot of sophomores last year. They win 12 ball games. Then this year, they're going to come in. They're going to definitely see a Calhoun City Baldwin matchup for 2A North.
Now, Jeremy and I never covered Baldwin as play-by-play color, but I always say that you got to have a little bit of luck on your side to at least get a little bit. Good coaching and talent can only take you so far. I think that luck has got to go your way, and at least in any sport. You got basketball, baseball, and football, of course. So hopefully that luck will carry over for them, and it'll be essential if they're playing these Calhoun City Wildcats.
Absolutely. Now, for all you Baldwin fans, I want to say this and make this clear up. They have to be talented enough to put themselves in a position to have a chance to win. Now if they weren't that good enough, then of course we wouldn't be talking about that right now. So this Baldwin team I got them on a bubble right now. I think they're going to be rolling a lot of high emotions, and as soon as the ball may take a wrong bounce for them or something like that, it's going to be interesting to see how well they bounce back, as you mentioned, having that kind of success for a young team.
Well, certainly, you got to, like I said, you got to worry about the bounce back effect. How will they react when adversity hits? We won't find out, for another couple of weeks, maybe on down the season.
Well, I tell you what, they've got a tough one tonight. Baldwin, Nelton, 2 teams that return everybody. That should be, I'm calling that probably the best game that we're going to see in our area. With that, of course, Paul Blancett will have the call on that one, along with Stephen Chris and Hunter Gibson, and you guys joining us for the crew this year. So we're sitting there talking about 2A. We look at it, the Bruce Trojans, New offensive style, new coach. He's pretty much letting everybody know 50% pass, 50% run. Anthony Armstrong moves from wide receiver to quarterback. This kid is a playmaker.
Oh, absolutely, and that's what you have to have in order to be successful. And this is a team that's, as you mentioned, a new transformation completely. They were about 95% run last year. We saw some things last year. That team was too run oriented. They had great weapons, a lot of speed. They didn't really use it a lot, but now you get a new coach, a new attitude, a new way of doing things, and I think this can only be a good asset for the Trojans as they go through this 2006 season. And we talked about Calhoun City. We talked about some of the other teams in 2A. You never count out Bruce. They're always there. They seem to always be there. Last year they were out-talented by Calhoun City. Played them tough for 3 quarters. The talent from Calhoun City kind of finally won out. But you talk about this Bruce team, they can go a long way, and especially with a new attitude and they get some new things changed.
I think it's a great idea to open up the offense and use all the weapons you have. It's perfect. It's exactly what this team needs. They need to turn around just a little bit and have them get over this hump that they've been, sitting on for the past couple of years.
Absolutely, and I will say this. If teams struggle with containing speeds and cannot contain the outside, Bruce is going to eat these guys alive. They got the Bobo twins in the backfield. I tell you, these kids are probably 2 good running backs that really are flying under the radar, undetected by some of these schools. But if they would just take the time to notice the way they run, the running ability, and just their sheer strength of running, these kids can end up going somewhere. So right now, Bruce is another one of those teams, a lot like Nettleton, new coach, a lot of young players, a lot of excitement in the air with the new offense, things like that. But it could be one of those situations, once again, where, say, Armstrong throws, hopefully he doesn't, throws 4 interceptions in a ball game. If they're trying to get out and throw the ball, how does a young team like that react?
Well, certainly, and you got to figure another thing you do with Armstrong is maybe take a look across the town at Calhoun City and see how they operate with Malcolm Bellum. It's the same situation. This year you can see a lot more opening up the offense and still run the ball a little bit. Armstrong certainly he can run with the football. He's a tremendous athlete, but it's going to be interesting to see how the teams like Nettleton and Bruce respond to adversity with new coaches who have dealt with these players through adversity before.
Absolutely, and Coach James Ray, coming from a slightly good program in Taylorsville as well, that knows a little bit about that brand of football. Of course, we will have the Bruce Water Valley game coming your way Monday night at 9:30, Bob, and his crew, along with Steve Witten, who is joining the crew this year as well. A lot of new faces this season here on the sports crew. They'll have that game to you Monday night as well. So pretty much wraps up there for 2A. We'll stay and shift down to 1A now. A lot of people give me so much fits about what I'm about to say. The team to beat right now, in my opinion, in 1A football, they went 6-6 last year, but they've just got insane amount of talent this year that's finally developed and knows what it's like to play football as, instead of just being just a basketball school. East Ottawa Titans, you guys saw the athleticism in basketball. The same kids that play basketball are playing football. But I'll tell you right now, the 3rd game of the year, Vardaman versus East Ottawa, that will tell the tale in 1A football.
Well, certainly in East Ottawa, you got to mention Gennaro Bush, a guy we saw in basketball last year, tremendous athlete, does a lot of great things. He's another guy in our viewing area that's receiving a lot of attention from D1 schools. And that team is loaded. You talked about they went 6-6 last year. They returned a lot of guys. They've got a chance in 1A North, and they can go a long way.
If their football fans are as ravenous as their basketball fans, that is going to be the best atmosphere in high school football.
Absolutely, and that game will be at Vardaman. As I mentioned, the 3rd game of the year. Reggie Callahan will be on hand for that one. I might even slip down for that one since it's such a big ball game. Bring out the big dogs on that one, but probably not. Anyway, we look at that. We shift down to Vardaman now. We talk about Vardaman. We're talking about all the talent they have. Look at what they've got in the backfield. Terrence Jones and Kelvin Clemens. Kelvin Clemens right now is 1,369 yards away from setting the all-time rushing record at Vardaman. People may not realize this. This kid is entering his senior season at Vardaman with over 4,000 yards rushing. Odie Armstrong holds the overall mark with 5,383 yards. So, you're looking at a kid right there chasing Odie, I guess you can say it. The year Odie had all those touchdowns, they called it the Odie meter. They had to count every touchdown he has. You can almost start the Clemens countdown now if you want to. Clemens can make some impressive numbers this year. 11 games plus the playoffs we could be looking at a new mark at Vardaman football.
Oh, absolutely. And you take a look at Clemens, he's got a great backfield around him. That's a talented team. I think he's going to get enough carries. He's going to get 1,300 yards. He made our all-area team last year just as a junior coming back. He's primed for a great season. I think you're going to have a new rushing leader at Vardaman High School.
Absolutely. Then you look at Terrence Jones. This kid threw for over 1,000 yards, rushed for over 1,000 yards as well. So it's one of those things, basically teams are going to have to pick their poison. If you're going to come up to try to stop the runs, he's a big guy that can run over you, run around you, and then he's also at the same time he can throw on the run, and he throws with extremely good touch. To me, this kid could possibly be the best all-around athlete in all of 1A football this year.
Boy, absolutely. When you got that dual threat ability, it can carry you a long way. And you talked about the great backfield that they have. And if you can design those plays to fit those talents, Vardaman can go a long way.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to take a break from that. We'll shift gears and talk about Coffeyville coming up next. We have an interview for that, but we're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be back with a little bit more right after this.
Grants Electronics, 916 City Avenue South, Ripley, Mississippi, has been in business 15 years, now has a larger and bigger inventory on big screen TVs and regular size TVs with name brands such as Sony, Toshiba, JVC with competitive prices. Problem with your cell phone? No problem. Grants Electronics is also your official singular phone dealer and provider with a huge selection of phones and accessories to choose from. Grants Electronics in Ripley. Good service, great location. Go by and save today. That's Grants Electronics, 916 City Avenue South, Ripley, Mississippi. Call today at 662-512-4001.
Sure do enjoy taking you kids fishing. I hope y'all grow up one day and love the simple life.
Hello everybody, I'm Bill Dance of Bill Dance Outdoors. Scenes like this are too familiar. I too love the simple life, but I wouldn't think of going fishing without my life jacket. Your life jacket should be required gear. Remember, it only works if you wear it.
Take a ride with your Arctic Cat dealer, Mississippi Marine in Tupelo. Arctic Cat, giving you more to go on for over a decade, offering more suspension travel, more ground clearance, and more durability than any other ATV out there. With top-of-the-line models such as the TRV Plus, 700, 650, and 400 limited editions, you can't go wrong. Mississippi Marine also brings you Arctic Cat's youth models for those young adventurers. Also, don't forget to pick up some extra gear for your Arctic Cat. So visit Bill Morgan and all the staff at Mississippi Marine today, Highway 45 in Tupelo.
Okay. Talking with Coach David Ballman of the Coffeyville Pirates. Coach Ballman, appreciate you taking time after practice to talk to us. Hot day, but got a little break there in the clouds later on.
Sure did. The clouds came in, had a little breeze going, and it was a really good day. It was a lot better than yesterday. We had a real high heat index yesterday. It was pretty tough on the kids, but it was a lot easier today.
All right, Coach, let's talk about the, I guess you said the preseason, the summer and stuff like that. Talk about some of the things the team's done and you've done to get them in shape and get ready for this upcoming season.
The kids have worked hard in the weight room. We've had a good number to work out this summer, and gave them a couple of weeks off after spring football was over with, and they came back and reported in pretty good shape. And we had a pretty good summer overall. The kids have worked real hard, and they're going to need to work extra hard this year because we have an awfully young group this year.
All right, Coach, talk about the team versus last year. This year, you were runner-up in North State championship game to Ray Brooks. Lost a lot of seniors. Talk about the seniors you lost and some of the kids that want to step up and play big for you this season.
Had a tremendous group of seniors, and those guys have been with me for 4 years. This will be my 5th year coming in, and we had 15 seniors in that group. 8 of those guys went on to play college football somewhere, and really good group, and they really set the pace for tradition here. That's what we're trying to build here. In the last 3 years we've had a lot of success, and a lot of that's attributed to them because they were such a good group and worked real hard, and that's really rubbed off on some of our younger guys too. They've seen the success and they've seen those guys move up through the ranks, and so it's really helped us out as far as our numbers go, and it's helped us out as far as our motivation. We don't have to do very little motivation now because the kids are used to winning here, and that's the point that we've been trying to get to.
Absolutely, Coach. Watching some of the practice, you can tell the guys when they come in, they mean business, and that that contributes to you and your coaching staff. Talk about some of your other guys that's going to be helping you this season on the coaching staff.
I have Yarnell Marks is going to be with us this year, and he'll be coaching our wide receivers and defensive backs. I have Coach Jackson coming in from Bruce. As a matter of fact, he was a star player at Bruce and played at Northwest and Texas Tech. And he's going to be helping us out with the defensive backs, wide receivers as well. Coach Wayne Davis is returning. He's our offensive and defensive line coach, and he's been with me for this will be his 4th year with me. And then I do the defense. I'll be the defensive coordinator, and I'll coach the running backs and quarterbacks.
All right, Coach. You talked about the continuous tradition you have rolling here. Pretty good JV program, also. Very strong 8th grade group up here you have also.
Great 8th grade group. Probably the best 8th grade group that I've seen. Well, the best I've seen since I've been here. It reminds me a lot of the guys that just graduated. It's a big group with a lot of skilled people, a lot of big linemen, and a lot of speed and a lot of talent there. And they work real hard together, and a bunch of good kids too, make good grades. So we're really excited about our future.
All right, Coach, now you talked about the tradition continuing here. Over the past 2 or 3 years, Coffeyville is slowly becoming, I guess you can say, almost a team to be reckoned with, and that's right where you want them on track after starting 5 years ago. Talk about some of these guys this year, what it's going to take for them to continue the success of winning.
Well, like I said, we're really young, but at the same token, a lot of those guys got a lot of playing experience last year. A lot of them got in the second half of a lot of the ball games last year. And it's just a matter of us being able to continue to put a good product on the field regardless of how young we are, because you're going to have good years and bad years as far as your age go and your numbers go, and especially in 1A football. And we're just trying to do like some of the other guys around here, like Calhoun City and Bruce and Ware and Durant and Brooks. I mean, those guys put a good product on the field every year, and we're trying to follow on that same mold. And it all boils down to having a tradition and making the playoffs. The younger kids see that, and the younger kids want to come out and play, and then from year to year it doesn't make it quite so hard on you. And that's the point that I'm not sure that we've reached that point yet, but I think that we're going in the right direction.
All right, Coach, some of those teams you just named are your division opponents, the Wares, the Ray Brooks, the Durants. Let's talk about the division right now, break it down, 2-3 weeks away from football. How does it, even though it's still early, it's probably just the same regular players as always, 4 to 5 teams deep and making this playoff spot?
Absolutely. In Region 2, 1A, you've got Ware, you've got Durant, and you've got Brooks. Brooks is, of course, going to be the favorite coming in. They are the defending state champion. And, of course, until they're dethroned, they're still the favorite. Ware's always going to be tough. Junior Graham does a really good job over there. Durant will have great athletes. They'll be big and physical and fast. They're kind of an unknown because they have a new head coach. We don't really know a whole lot about them. We do know that they'll put a really athletic team on the field. And another team that we're really looking out for this year too is Drew, because Drew had a very young squad last year. They were within 1 game of making the playoffs, and they had a lot of really good athletes on that team too. So I look for them to make some noise too. So it could theoretically be a 6-team race out of the 10 teams in the region, the 11 teams in the region.
All right, Coach. We talked about sort of Coffeyville starting to. It's a small town, but it's starting to make a lot of noise in the football scene. This year you had a first ever player named for the Dandy Dozen, selected by the Clarion Ledger and League Chamber. Talk about what that means to your program, some of the kids coming up, and then also just the community in general.
Oh, it means everything. I mean, it's just kind of icing on the cake for the years that we've had and getting some recognition. And Lee's a great athlete, and he deserved everything he got. He worked really hard to get to where he is, and it means so much to our community, and it means so much to our school. It means everything to us, because Coffeyville in the past hadn't gotten a whole lot of publicity, and we're now starting to get some eyes turned over towards Yalobusha County, and we hope that we can continue to do that.
All right, Coach, talk about some of the things you feel as a coach that you're responsible to, say, guide a player or other players, not just Lee, but other players, on getting them eligible for being able to play on the next level.
Academics is number one. I've coached in a long time, and I've had some really great players, kids that had Division I talent but didn't do it in the classroom for whatever reason, lack of motivation, or just didn't want to do it. And so we try to stay on our kids early and often. When they come into the high school in the 8th grade, we try to stay on them academically and stress their importance of academics. And with the new rules that the Activities Association has put in place too, with the 75 average, it's going to put the impetus on those kids even more so to be good students in the class. because you can have all the talent in the world. Most of the kids really want to play ball. They want to come in the weight room and lift, but the classroom is the key to all of them. So that's our number one emphasis coming in, not only make them good football players, but number one, first and foremost, to make them good students.
All right, Coach. Well, we're about to run out of time here, so I guess you could say we'll close it up by giving you the opportunity to invite Coffeyville fans and just fans out around the area to come watch some good football this year in Coffeyville.
Well, we certainly want to do that, and we certainly want to thank our fans and the community for the support that they've given us in the last few years, and we want them to continue to do so. And if you have an opportunity to come out and watch us play, we open up August the 25th at Ethel. We would certainly appreciate any support that you guys can give us.
All right, guys. Coach Ballman there. A lot of excitement in Coffeyville. Little town, first ever Dandy Dozen member on the football team. I know Big Mike, he's watching at home right now. He's really excited about football. But this Coffeyville team, there's going to be a lot of hype around them, rightfully so. They're young in some spots, but I think they're going to make a pretty strong push in 1A.
Oh, and you got a guy like Lee Chambers in the backfield, and he's such a great team guy, as you're going to hear in the interview in just a minute. He talks about the right things. He's not even worried about, I think he makes the comment, he's not even worried about if he gains a yard this year, as long as they win and get to a state championship. So it's a great thing for them. They've got a leader that is putting the team first because he's getting a lot of attention. He's already committed to Mississippi State. He's getting a lot of attention from a lot of great programs. And if they can kind of follow his lead, they can go a long way again, and they can make a push to win 1A state.
Lee Chambers is exactly what you want in a leader at this position, especially at the running back spot. He's also got a great fullback also with him that likes to get out and hit guys. So you've got a pretty good backfield over at Coffeyville. That's starting zone for whatever you want to build on, and Lee Chambers certainly wants a state championship.
Absolutely. It's a good attitude that he has to sort of influence these younger kids on the team as well. Question mark could be the secondary, but they did a good job on hiring this summer. Jamal Jackson, former player at Bruce, Texas Tech, guy that's seen the likes of Vince Young and Eli. So, this guy knows a little bit about the secondary, what to do back there.
Well, certainly, and anytime you can bring in a coach that's experienced not only on the high school level but the college level, at a major D1 program like Texas Tech, a program that's coming off a Cotton Bowl berth, so that's a great move by Ballman in order to get him in there and let him work with the defensive backs. And they've got things are just kind of shaping up. The stars are looking like they can align, and you could see big things out of Coffeyville.
Absolutely. We'll take and go real quickly to that interview with Lee Chambers that we was just talking about. Had an opportunity to talk to him earlier this summer. Hey, welcome back. Talking now with Lee Chambers. Lee, first off, want to congratulate you on being selected a Dandy Dozen member, and want to thank you for taking time to talk to us today. Let's start off with the summer, man. You worked really hard this summer coming into your season. Talk about some of the things you want to do to improve going into this season.
A lot of things I want to improve on is not really dealing with me. I want to become a better leader because we had 15 seniors to graduate last year, and we got a young team coming out this year. So the main thing I want to do is be a leader, and help them come along. So we can compete for a state championship, and when I leave, they'll be left with the knowledge that I left them.
All right, talk about some of the things you feel like you need to do personally to lead those guys to be able to continue this tradition here at Coffeyville.
First of all, like when we be in drills and stuff like that, I need to be first in line. They look at my work ethic, they look up to me. So if they see me working hard, they're gonna eventually start to work hard.
All right, well, let's talk about some of these scout camps you went to this summer. First, let's talk about your first scout camp. Where did you attend your first one at?
At Ole Miss in the indoor practice facility.
All right, that's a pretty nice facility up there.
Yes, sir.
All right, talk about that and what it was like seeing some of the best talent across the South, I guess you could say, attend this camp.
It was very exciting. You come in there thinking, because you get all the hype that you real good, but you see players, in there that better than you. So it was kind of exciting to me, to see somebody that was actually, faster than me, stronger than me, and more athletic.
Probably overall, how many camps did you attend? Two. All right. Ole Miss, and the other one was Mississippi State.
Yes, sir.
All right. Which one of the two did you say you enjoyed more?
I enjoyed Mississippi State one more because every time I go down there, it just feel like I'm right at home. Like I'm right in my backyard or something. I ain't missing nothing.
Awesome. All right, now you verbally committed to Mississippi State right now. The last time I checked, what are some of the other schools that have put offers to you and talked to you throughout the summer?
Miami, they're still talking to me right now. And Louisville, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Michigan. It's been quite a few, and Florida State.
All right, but right now, since Mississippi State feels like home, you're pretty locked on Mississippi State right
Yes,
now.
sir.
Awesome. All right, now let's talk about the senior season. Do you feel any added pressure coming on you this season with being a Dandy Dozen member, basically just all eyes on you?
Yes, sir. I feel that I'm gonna be pressured, because they thinking, I'm gonna be, top, be better than what I was last year, things like that. But that ain't really what I'm looking at. I'm looking at being a leader, I'm not really looking at my stats, things like that, because I really don't care if I don't gain a yard a game. I just want to win, and I just want a state championship before I leave Coffeyville High School.
All right, and what do you feel like it would take Coffeyville to get to the state championship level?
Attitude. They got to have the mind frame to, want to come out there and work and know what they're working for.
All right. Gave Coach the same opportunity. I'll give you the same opportunity. Invite everybody in the Coffeyville and surrounding areas to come out and watch Coffeyville football, Pirate football this year. Well, guys, you see there, Lee, great attitude heading into the season. We talked about they have a great eighth grade group coming up, and just having a leader like that, senior leadership showing through, means good things for Coffeyville.
Well, that's exactly what high school football is all about, and those are the kinds of guys you want in your football program. But Lee Chambers, the guys who have gotten received a lot of attention in the off season, a guy that's coming off a big year, but a guy that knows it's all about the team and it's all about trying to win football games versus padding stats.
And another thing that y'all mentioned earlier that's great for both Coffeyville and for Lee Chambers is Coach Ballman, he brought in Jamal Jackson. It's a great opportunity for Lee Chambers to get experience from a guy who's had a solid career, especially at a program like Texas Tech. He knows what to expect, and Jamal Jackson can take him under his wing and show him exactly what he needs to do being a Dandy Dozen pick.
Absolutely no. We're singing all the praise of Coffeyville. Well, we got to snap back to reality. We go through these teams. Ware, Ray Brooks, Durant. And there's a young team called Shaw that almost made the playoffs. It was a very young team last year that they're really worried about. And there's another, they're saying this division's 6 teams deep in fighting for 4 playoff spots. So if things don't go too well, we could be looking at a Dandy Dozen guy sitting at home at the end of the year. But I see good things for Coffeyville, but this is going to be a tough division.
Well, it will be a tough division, but you got to think and you got to believe that with the attitude and the coaching that Coffeyville has, that's something you can never count out good coaching, and that's what the Pirates have. They've got great coaching, and along with a great player like Lee Chambers and great attitude, you got to think they'll make one of the 4 spots in this 6-team division.
Absolutely, and guys, I believe y'all's first 4 games you're going to have Dandy Dozen members in each one of those, so y'all got a good 4-game set to start the season off with. So it's going to be interesting. Before we run out of time real quick, I'm going to run down the W07BN all-area preseason team, I guess you can say. Thanks for Steven joining us now as he's back in the control room, not really paying much attention. But real quickly, we'll go over with the offense, and guys, we can comment on these after I go over the offense. But of course, quarterback Terrence Jones of Vardaman. Running backs, we picked 3 here: Lee Chambers of Coffeyville, Ricky Walton of the Fayette County, Kelvin Clemens of Vardaman. Wide receivers Darius Young, Shannon, Mark Fox, Calhoun City, and Brent Brownlee of Oxford. Your tight end Cody Brownlee of Nettleton. Then you've got Scott Riddle of Amory, Preston Robertson of Calhoun City, Ty Harden of Houston, Dustin Smith of Houston, Clay Voles of Thrasher. Then our special teams player DeAndre Coran of Oxford, place kicker Jonathan Nilsson of Oxford. Our punter will be Heath Hutchins of South Tillow, and then our athlete, just fill him in and he'll make things happen, Anthony Armstrong. And guys, looking at that offense, we're going to see a lot of offensive excitement this year.
Oh, a lot of great playmakers, a lot of guys that can take it to the house, so to speak. Deep at running back, wide receivers, you talk about Young and Brownlee and Fox. Those are guys that anytime they touch the football, they do a great job of getting open. They can score some touchdowns. A lot of offensive firepower in a lot of teams in our viewing area.
Huge guys up front as well. The 2 guys from Houston. Harden's going to make some noise as well, and also you got some great special teams unit, and you can plug in Anthony Armstrong anywhere.
Absolutely. Another guy that really got left off out of the mix, I actually put him up there and then had to take him off, was Lance Dixon of Nettleton, a kid that rushed for over 1,500 yards last year as well, returning this year also. Defense, I picked it up a little weird way here. We went with 4 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, 4 DBs. Man, Anyway, our line goes Perez Welch of Baldwin, a huge kid, and a guy by the name of Marquino Lee at Lafayette County, a man amongst boys. David Atkinson, probably the only man that could possibly match up against Marquino. And then you got Dennis Johnson of Amory, a kid that was just a man-child last year across that defensive front. Linebackers, kid Cannon Griffin of Baldwin and Isaiah Robbins of Baldwin. Each of them, I think, had over 150 tackles from the linebacker position for Baldwin. Jonathan Freak of Oxford and Jeremy Boyd of Holly Springs. DBs, Dominique Davenport of Baldwin, Jamison Hughes of Oxford, Rashad Hoskins of Nelton, and Desmond Ivy of Lafayette County. I tell you what, as soon as we talk about the offense having offensive sparks, we put that kind of defense beside it, who knows?
I can't believe we talked about Oxford, didn't mention Jonathan Freak, the best linebacker in our viewing area, in my opinion. He is a guy that last year played a huge role in their success defensively. He's got great size, great speed. He tackles well. He's another one of those prospects we talked about receiving a lot of attention from Division I teams. And then Jamison Hughes, defensive back. He's already committed to Ole Miss. He came on late in the season last year, impressed a lot of the coaches, and that defense stacked all the way across the board. You talked about the offensive firepower. Would love to see this matchup if we could get it. Our first team offense against the first team defense. It would be a push in every sense.
Yeah. The guy that really stands out to me is Marquino Lee on that defensive line, though. We saw him make some absolutely huge hits last year, and this year I'm expecting even better things out of Marquino. Also, Desmond Ivy is going to turn some heads at DB, and Lafayette County seems to be producing both the quarterbacks and the DBs. You had Justin Woodall last year, and now Desmond Ivy looking to turn heads.
Absolutely. And Marquino's been a kid that's almost fell off the charts over the summer, guys. We really hadn't heard a lot about him. I think he'll make up for that come here in the season. Quickly, we'll remind you of all the games that we'll be covering this week. We've already covered the Count City Vardaman matchup along with the Pontotoc South Pontotoc matchup. Other games going on. You guys, Houston will be at Okolona. Bruce versus Water Valley. Nelton versus Baldwin. Stephen and Paul will have the call on that one. I will be at the Amory versus Saltillo game along with Bill and Suit. Then we'll also have our guys up in Oxford covering the Lafayette County Holly Springs game, the Oxford and Corinth game, and then also we'll have a matchup between Boonville and North Panola. Be interested to see how Boonville starts that season. Then in the next week, week 2, we will start our junior college coverage as well with the Northeast Tigers, as I believe they host Jones in the first week as well. Also another Thursday night game. Mark it on your calendar now. North Pontotoc versus Pontotoc will be a Thursday night game as well next week. Guys, pretty much going to wrap it up here. Any final thoughts or expectations on the season?
Just can't finally football season gets here. We talked about it last year. Looking for another great season, and gonna love to track the path of all these teams in our viewing area.
Yeah, I'm really excited so far, especially with these next couple of games that we got coming up. Like we said earlier, great rivalry matchups and already some big names that we're going to be throwing out there on Friday nights.
Absolutely. That's about all the time we have, folks. You can check our website for those times and dates, and if they're not up, they're Steve and Chris's fault. So for Jeremy Kennedy, Ryan Winton, I'm Adam Gore, and we'll see you next time here on W07BN.